We are going to award 3 Young Economist prizes, also Carol English Prize for policy work, especially related to local issues, economic issues, and we have honorary recognition of the president for outstanding work to the author under 25 years of age. And the other year, at the big biannual conference, we usually award also Katarzyna Schmidkova Prize and our prize for long-term contribution to the development of the Czech economic learning. So today we will award those 5 prizes only. We are not giving prizes so frequently. As I mentioned, we put together all the names since 1994. You can find them on the website. In fact, you find that you know quite well most of the people who happen to be laureates. I put there just as early years, starting in 94 with Pavel Kohut and Viktor Kotlan in 98. But you can go on, you can check there. This is the link. Those who are, by the way, Wi-Fi is here. So if my presentation is too boring, you can browse our laureates. So this year we got 26 applications. It's non-negligibly more than in the past, but we had COVID and these things, so this is not consistent time series, just some comparison numbers. The award committee, I have to thank all the members of the board who served also as the award committee, who are mentioned there. Some of them are here with us, so again, thank you very much. Let me stress that this was really anonymous, according to rules, anonymous evaluation. So we anonymized, Denisa anonymized all the things for the committee, so we found out who was awarded at the end, except those who know that these are their students, and these abstain from any debate of given work. This being said, I have to repeat again, thanks to supporters, especially to the Council of Scientific Societies of the Czech Republic, who is providing non-negligible part of the money for the awards for already several years, or even many. And I'm just very close to announce those 5 names. There will be no music, no fanfare, no sound. We are not so far yet. It's my second time I do this. I will ask Denisa to help me. I will also, I think I can do it, because we will make pictures for our donors and all important parties. So I will try to make this, what is going, because the photo should happen here. Let's see. And I will welcome Daniel as a vice president, who worked, invisible, but worked together with me. So Daniel will make this ceremony with me. And I saw that I should bring here also those laureates from the 90s. But given that the group would be huge, I think we should proceed somehow step by step, so that one prize is awarded by one, and the other, we have, how many we have of the old young economists here? We have Pavel here, Honza, Victor, we have 3. You can do, and we have Karel here. So,
as a young economist.
Yes, you are a young economist. Yeah. So, I will ask Karel probably to help me with those first 2 prizes. But first, I have to inform you who got it. Okay. So, the committee is ready. So, in which order you want to join? You will join us later. Okay. So, the prize for really very young economist goes for work of the effect of face mask on COVID transmission and analysis. And the name behind is Martina Lušková from Faculty of Social Sciences. To český, English also. Congratulations. Slovenský nechaj. Tak děkuji. Já si tady, paní novina, by bylo vidět balkon takhle. Paní novina, si řeknete, že jo? Možná dopředu, jste byl takhle. Hlavně to logo tohle ti vidět takhle. We are not professional organizer. Můžete? So, congratulations. So, the other prize, and it will be Carol, and if I remember well, Carol English Prize, yes, for the policy work, goes to the effect of financial intensive on vaccination rates, was explained earlier from Slovakia, and it goes to Petr Kravec from Faculty of Social Sciences. By the way, the prize is not only the diploma, but also some money. Thank you very much. So it reminds me, please, all laureates and the people from the panel, please stay here to the break so that we make group photo. We don't want to make group photo at this moment. So now I will ask the youngest young economist from you. It's not, you are the oldest. Not the oldest. You are the youngest. Of course, you can check his purse on Wiki or somewhere. So, Viktor Kotlan, most of you know quite well. He will be a member of our panel. He got the Young Economist Prize in 1998. Yeah. So, which work? That is quantifying the effects of basic income programs in the presence of automation. Third place, and it goes to Alexander Hansak. Congratulations. I said everybody knows at least a little bit of Czech. So please try. Thank you very much. So I will proceed to the second place, which goes for, so it will be Honza. Honza is not getting prize. Honza will just join us getting the prize. You are too old. You are not fulfilling the conditions for the prize. You got it in 1995. You're right. I don't have to introduce him here. So the second place goes for interim deadline for procrastination. Not nation, but procrastinator. And the name behind is Artem Razumovsky from CERCI. So please stay. You can, yes. Jan. By the way, everybody knows the topic, right? Nobody specialized, so specialized, so everybody knows one part. So now we are going to the finals. Yes, this person is here. So I welcome here Pavel Kohut. He knows another Pavel Kohut, but this is the younger one, who got the prize in 1994. I don't remember the name of the work. You still remember, right?
No, I don't see it again.
Okay. No. Procrastination is better, everyone. It's this thing. And we will have the first place. The person is not here, but will be here with us, thanks to the technology. And the person is not close. It's in. He's far. So, what is it about? First place, Czech Economic Society Award. We have a robot. They are connecting Chicago. So the first place goes for this topic. Let me choose what I'm best at. A natural field experiment with volunteers. And the name behind is the roku from now University of Chicago and CERCI. So let's hopefully, yes, we see him, right? He's right there. So Jakube, can you make him Theodore bigger? Maybe if you start talking, you will appear as a main.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you a lot for the prize.
So, congratulations. I'm not sure. Let's try making picture with you there. This has to be visible, okay. We awarded the old economist last year to Professor Aune Shaket this way too. You are being pictured. Thanks a lot. So, and we will. We will send the diploma and the check 35,000 pounds. We'll probably leave it here for you to pick up. I don't know which camera is just recording, so every camera can see it. Thank you, Pavel, for joining us. You will join us later. So, we are not so important. So, this has been done. Thank you very much to everybody. And I think it's time to let the winner, Theodore, to briefly, we agree that it will be rather brief, about 50 minutes, summarize his contribution to the piece of scientific work he submitted. So, Theodore, the floor is yours. I will sit and watch closely your presentation.
Thank you so much. Just let me know whether you can see my slides.
Yes.
Is it visible? Okay. Okay, so the broad question for this project is what motivates effort. And we know that economists have thought about it for a long time now, and that the money seems to be like the gold standard for motivating workers, meaning that you pay people, they produce. But the problem with money is that sometimes it's costly, it's not available, and it has been shown that it can crowd out intrinsic motivation too. In the sense that when you pay people little amounts, they sort of do worse than when they when you don't pay them at all. And this seems to be particularly true for volunteers. But economists have also thought, what can motivate efforts in the absence of money? And they've thought about recognition, and like a few examples here are certificates or thank you cards, or adding meaning to mundane tasks, or most recently autonomy. And autonomy is the incentive that has not been widely explored. We know only a few examples in the economic literature, and this is where this paper will hit on. So what the intrinsic motivation theory says is that inspiring a person to perform at their best, one should really think about the conditions under which the intrinsic motivation pops out itself. And one of these conditions is autonomy. So, and it is very, very, very connected to the volunteering context. Because while we know what motivates people to donate their time, we don't know how to motivate them in a way that they show up and then they produce effort and they become more pro-social. Two notable examples in this literature are tailoring communication to the motives that volunteers show up that they want to volunteer about, and this has not been effective. And then our most recent works, things that feedback and voting, like feedback about you do your work, you get your feedback, and you vote on where the money that was collected with your output will go to. This has been shown to increase prosociality among volunteers. In this paper, we focus on the autonomous motivation, which refers to engaging in an activity of one's free will or with a sense of choice. And most importantly, we give volunteers choice in a natural field experiment in Albania in collaboration with UNICEF. So the first research question is, do volunteers exert more effort and perform better when they can choose tasks? And by that, I mean that the nonprofit offers volunteers to raise awareness, raising messages about 3 different causes, and what a volunteer can do is that they can choose the cause that they are more interested. This is very connected to wider literature in charitable giving, in which it has been shown that if you can direct your gift to a particular person or a particular charity or a particular project, people seem to be more prosocial and donate more money. But of course, choice has its own flaw, which is that it can limit the flexibility of the NGO in terms of the output that is collected. For example, some of the options that are associated with the choice might not be preferred by volunteers, but are very necessary for the nonprofit. And in this paper, I'll try to address that question as well. The second question is also important because nowadays most volunteers are episodic. So whilst they show up one time, they're shifting from long-term commitment to short-term commitment. So we also want to ask whether the choice makes volunteers more likely to volunteer in the future as well. And we measure this by simply asking them to sign up by email for future notifications. In the third question, we want to benchmark the effect of choice with ex post performance contingent rewards. But first, we have to show that whether these ex post performance contingent rewards can actually increase motivation. And by that, we mean that people are not paid simply for doing a job, but they are told that if your work is the best among your team, then you will get a reward. And these ex post rewards have been shown by Benabo and Tirol that they are not necessarily considered extrinsic motivators because they have this sort of learning effect that you learn that you are talented or that you did good, so that it is likely that your self-esteem will be boosted or your intrinsic motivation will increase. So then comes the question of what motivates prosociality. Is it choice or is it money? So this is the benchmarking part. And lastly, I'm going to address the mechanisms that may channel the effect of choice, and most particularly we focus on one causal mechanism, which is ability matching, right? By giving people choice, they may pick the option that matches their abilities better. So think about a very short conceptual framework that nonprofits like to hire volunteers, and their goal is to maximize the output of these volunteers. And in this case, suppose that UNICEF wants to raise awareness about 3 different topics and then ask volunteers to choose which of them they want to work on. Now, the production function of writing these messages will, of course, depend on writing skills, how much people know and how aware they feel about topics, and, of course, the ability to raise awareness. Now, we focus on the ability particularly because, First of all, we know that abilities are unobservable. It is very costly for employers, managers, or nonprofits to learn about the abilities. So it may be beneficial for them to allow people match on abilities. And the psychological literature has shown that people have an innate psychological need to feel capable and effective. So we expect that if people match, they're going to perform better. So to preview the result, in case I don't manage to finish the presentation, we find strong effects of allowing people to choose the tasks on both the quantity and the quality of output. And those who could choose promise that they are going to show up in the future, but it is unlikely that they do so because we don't find any differences in the sign-up email task. And we provide causal evidence that people did do better because they match their abilities with the task, but other mechanisms might be at play, and I'm going to discuss a few of them. And finally, while ex post rewards do not show to crowd out intrinsic motivation, it is simply cost effective for an NGO to motivate prosociality through choice rather than money. So what I did is that in this timeline presented here in 2022 September, I partnered with a UNICEF-funded NGO, which have this beautiful platform you report that exists in 77 countries, and it has a lot of users worldwide. And then we try to recruit schools because we wanted the youngsters, like the youth, to be potential volunteers. The NGO had already got some permission from the ministry to promote this platform. So I also got a permission from the ministry to enter into schools and got their support to implement this project. Of course, RGI issued the IRB, and the Commissioner for Data Protection and Approval also approved this whole process. And in February 2022, we surveyed volunteers to learn more about how they feel about the topics and how they feel about volunteering. Then we randomized, and in April we ran the final experiment. So the NGO that I collaborated with is the Observatory for the Rights of Youth and Children. It's a UNICEF-funded NGO. Volunteers recruited them from four high schools. It's like a fairly large sample in the capital of Albania. And the topics that we worked on raising awareness were actually suggested by the schools. So we gave schools a list of topics that the NGO and UNICEF are interested in, and school would sort of tailor those topics to the needs of the community and of course the knowledge of students. Because if we would come up with topics that students do not know anything about, then probably this experiment would have failed. Output would then be posted on this platform, and which kids would have, of course, access to, because we enabled them to enroll in this platform. And then we had already people in the schools who were paid by UNICEF, so it is a fairly cheap project because most of the work was done by the NGO. So what are the outcomes that we are measuring in this project? First, the task is to write awareness-raising messages, so it is a creative and meaningful task, which contrasts most of the lab experiments that have simple and meaningless tasks like press A or B, or do manual tasks which may be boring for volunteers. So we measure the total number of relevant written messages for the topic that was assigned to the volunteer, the share of good quality messages, and this is the first quality measure, and it means that whether a message was written grammatically correctly and whether it has the potential to be posted on this platform by either touching people's hearts or making their brain reflect, it's considered a good message. So this is a fairly objective measure because it doesn't discriminate on what direction the message is going to. And then a third measure, we have a subjective measure, which is an overall quality from 1 to 10 of the whole work. And the quality evaluation was done by 3 masters in psychology students that were paid by the NGO and that were not aware of the research hypothesis. Each of them evaluated messages in all schools, in the same schools and in the same treatment groups, but not for the same student. We didn't have 3 evaluators because that's extremely costly, and there's a long process. And then we measure task enjoyment and the willingness to volunteer in the future with the 2 measures that I already told you. So this is the first part of the design. In the survey, students were surveyed about awareness and knowledge, difficulty level to raise awareness, because we think that if they think that bullies are always going to bully, then maybe what's the point of raising awareness about this topic? And most importantly, we ask people to rate their self-perceived ability to raise awareness about the three topics. Teachers were there to distribute and collect the surveys, and of course monitor such that we have spillover effects. And most important, this was done in all our schools at the same time, which makes this natural field experiment with a great control level. And then we ask schools administrative data on age, gender, cohort, performance in all of these subjects that you see here, because they are relevant and they're supposed to affect the outcome. Now, in the first, this is a 4-arm trial. In the first arm, we matched people randomly with task 1, 2, or 3. In the choice treatment, people could choose task 1, 2, or 3. And in the ability treatment, we matched the answer that they gave in the survey for which task they feel more able with the task that they were supposed to write awareness messages about. And then in the XPass reward, students received a random task, 1, 2, or 3, but they were told that the best performer in the class, and by best means that the most messages and quality messages, will receive a large prize of 20 euros. This was not arbitrarily selected. We first, of course, that there is some financial constraint of the grant on how much money can we spend on this experiment, but it's also like 20 euros is like 4 times the average hourly wage and in the country, but it's also money that an adolescent can actually spend on a weekend. So the incentive was pretty high, and we wanted to contradict the literature that says that if you pay people not enough money, they're going to crowd out intrinsic motivation. And after kids finish this main task, we ask them to write awareness-raising messages about a completely different task when we remove choice and everybody does the same thing. And just to show you like a small picture of how the thing look like. So there's a teacher here. Kids are doing their job and she's monitoring at all times, but there's also an external monitor, a paid person who is always being there in case that there are problems or in distributing surveys or whether teachers need external help. And let me just jump immediately to the summary results. So in this table, I'm comparing the control group with the choice group, and clearly we see a large effect and strong effect of allowing people to choose on the number of relevant messages. So while they write on average 1 more message, given the baseline average, this is like almost 30% increase in the quantity of the volunteers' outcome. The quality is also affected positively, which means that there is a greater chance that their messages produced under the choice group are of better quality, whether measured as a percentage of good messages or whether graded from a scale from 1 to 10. This is particularly like interesting because we would expect that people not only would agree or be willing to volunteer in the future, and this is what they report, but when it comes to taking an action for future engagement with the NGO, it doesn't seem that they are more likely to sign up for future volunteering events. And also they're not any more likely to participate in the other task which happens on the same day. Well, this is not a behavior that is totally surprising because we know that there is this intention to actually have, I promise to do it, but I'm not going to do it. So, and then it confirms the literature that volunteers nowadays are simply episodic. They show up on one time and they tend not to show up another time. Now, looking at the effect of paying volunteers ex post on both quantity and quality of the messages, we see that both are affected, but the effect seems to be smaller than in the choice group. And most importantly, when people in the money group are asked to write awareness-raising messages about another task, which they do not get paid for, even though there is no statistical significance, it seems like they tend to write less, which means that you take out the money and then the intrinsic motivation goes back to the basic level. So money, this actually proves that money is a very good incentive, but as I said, it is not always available. Now, having choice or getting paid, benchmarking the choice and the money group, we do not find any differences in the quantity. So whether you give people choice or pay them, they're going to produce on average the same amount of messages, but quality is impacted in favor of choice, which means that while you may get the same amount of messages of output, under the choice condition, this output will be of higher quality. And also in the number of messages in the other task, after we control for many variables, we see that there is a small effect showing that people are more likely to be motivated by autonomy rather than by simply being paid all the time. And finally, talking about the mechanism, we, as I said, we focus on the effect of matching abilities with the task. And we provide causal evidence in this table that yes, matching ability with the task increases both quantity and quality. And especially the effect of quality is very close to the one in the choice condition, which means that one of the potential mechanisms, or that can sort of explain most of the effect of the choice treatment, is ability matching, and this is shown also in comparing both choice and ability here. So basically, even though there is some effect, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I see that you just passed the middle of the presentation, but we are really squeezed by time. So we would need you to wrap up so that we finish.
I have only two more slides.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. So basically, there is no difference between the choice and the ability matching. So it means that this is a potential mechanism. And to give up to provide you some more additional evidence, we find that volunteers in the choice group actually chose, in most of the cases, the task that matches their abilities and not the task that matches their knowledge or awareness, which would be a proxy for matching on preferences. Most likely, there is no evidence that those people who could choose are more prosocial because they simply like to have choice. Because in the other task, when we removed the choice, there was no effect. And they did not experience greater enjoyment, which would mean that if you do what you like, you are most likely to experience, to enjoy the process more. But this is, as I said, this is not the only mechanism that could be at work. An alternative mechanism that this paper cannot address is a heightened responsibility to do well, simply because you took the decision by yourself and it was not assigned to you by the nonprofit. So what I want you to take away from this project is that it is possible to motivate volunteers in the absence of money and without hurting the crowding out the intrinsic motivation, and this is by empowering them with choice. So we find positive effects on the volunteers' output and their willingness to volunteer in the future. And the story is that having more choice simply allows volunteers to match their abilities with the task, and this is why they enhance prosociality. Now, while monetary incentive seems to work, and they do not seem to crowd out intrinsic motivation, NGOs might think that a more cost-effective way of hiring volunteers is through autonomy rather than with money. Thank you so much.